Steve Magnante here at Winkle Auto Wrecking in Milford, New Hampshire with this, a very special 1970 Dodge. When you see RT on the front of any Dodge, it means road and track. And in the case of the Coronet, it means a minimum of 440 cubic inches and 375 horsepower. Now this appears to be an original paint Hemi orange car. And under the hood, well, let's see what we have. Okay, now that's a big block. Is it a Hemi? Well, while the Hemi and the 440 share this same bump right here for the raised deck architecture, the 383s don't have that. They're shorter decks. This one is a 440 because this corner of the block is not 90 degrees with an oil drain on it. That angled effect there on both sides of the block tells us it's definitely a 440 wedge, but that's okay. That means 375 horsepower, 480 foot-pounds of torque. And now this one here we can see was an air conditioning car, which is okay. Not too big of a deal, but only 2,319 1970 Coronet RTs were built. And this is not to be confused with a Super B. This is the top dog, the Coronet RT. These were only available as convertibles or two-door hardtops. So no two-door posts done in the Coronet RT lineup, whereas the Super B could be had as a two-door post. But let's take a walk around and see what else we can learn here. There's a set of the 14-inch rims that are from some other application. I love these Roadrunner belted G60 14s. You know, I gotta wonder, you know, the Plymouth Roadrunner, of course, 68 through 80, when companies like whoever this is, I'm not sure who this is, maybe, I don't know, but Roadrunner, did Plymouth have a problem with that? I gotta wonder what's up with that. These are not Plymouth wheels or tires or anything like that, but you gotta love that Roadrunner belted G60 14s. Behind that is the 11 by 3-inch RT spec drum brake, 11 by 2.5s in the back. And the thing I love about RTs is, you know, the 11-inch drums on these things were massive. If you bought a GTO or an SS396 with drums, you got a 9.5-inch drum. Not too big, but that's one of the reasons why I like Chrysler products, because they gave you a lot of suspension to go with the engine. Now this one was once a white vinyl top car. We can see traces of the white vinyl. So imagine that Hemi orange with a white vinyl top. This thing must have made your eyes pop when it was new. Let's trade places and look inside. Okay, weird. This one is a column torque flight automatic. And the 727 torque flight in the RT is going to be the high upshift variety, heavy duty torque flight. But with a column shifter, white interior. This one does have the split bench seat, basically a little buddy rest in the middle, can be folded up for 3 across or down for an armrest. But the white interior on this thing is, it must have been a shocking, stunning, beautiful looking car. Now I did see something on the trim tag, V88 for a code, and that means that the rear bumblebee stripe was deleted. Let's take a look at the back of the car. And you can see right here where on all RTs, cars, the Dodge Scat Pack, they call them the cars with the bumblebee stripes. There would be a white or black stripe going down here, probably white on this car. But when you ordered stripe delete, V88 on the trim tag, no stripe. One of the things with the stripe, it was kind of a cop baiter. You know, you go through town with this white stripe laying rubber. Hey, that car with the white stripe on the tail, let's go get him. Well, without the stripe, you were a little less conspicuous. But between the tail lamps, right there it is, RT, road and track. So here we have it right here, a member of the the Scat Pack, the Dodge Scat Pack. I almost said Rapid Transit. That's Plymouth in 1970, 71, and 2. The Rapid Transit system was Plymouth's answer to the Dodge Scat Pack of 68 through 71, 72. But this is a very cool car. It's original paint, Hemi orange, white top, V88 striped elite car. It's a lot to like. The original block and torque flight are still here. There's enough here to restore, but you'd have to really, really be on a mission. It would take a lot of money to get this thing running again. But in the meantime, let's just let it sit right here. It's cool. So I've been an enthusiast of model cars pretty much since the age of 6. which is like 51 years ago. So along the way, I've amassed some tricks and tools that I'll share here. One of the first things I learned to use a long, long time ago was super glue, also known as cyanoacrylate, which is this stuff here. The old Testors cement from back in the day. Trouble with this is that it took a long time to dry. And speaking of that, if you can't wait for your super glue to dry, get some of this. This is Kicker. And what this stuff does is basically you spritz this onto the super glue, and instead of drying in, 2 minutes, it dries in 15 seconds. So that's the beauty of that. Beyond all that, if you're like me, you like to spray paint and color and detail your models, and that's great. But if you also want to mask them or do a two-tone treatment, like this Golden Commandos. This is the Mobius model from, again, Mobius 65 Golden Commandos car. And you can see that on the back, these effects right here weren't done with a paintbrush. Rather, that is all about masking. So what I do here is I use actual masking tape. Now, I used to use regular tape, like Scotch tape or whatever, but I've learned that Tamiya, you choose, makes this. It's very flexible stuff. It's available in wide 18 millimeter or even really narrow 5 millimeter like this. And what you do with that stuff is you can bend it around a curve, just tamp it down, and you can do a figure 8 on a model car. It's that sticky, and the beauty is that the edges of it stick down real hard, so you never get that feather bleed effect where paint gets under the mask and ruins the effect. So masking tape, the right kind, is a key thing. Another detail too is removing parts from the plastic trees. Used to be I just snap them away, and half the time you leave pieces of the car part on the tree. So get yourself a pair of these. These are flush cut snippers. They're available at most hobby shops or even electric supply stores. They're about $6, and these will revolutionize the process of taking the parts off the trees. So those are a major thing to have. There's also little things that are very helpful. And one of the weird things is when you build model cars, of course, the process of painting is, it's about, having the paint ready at hand. And don't worry so much about the zoom on these. I'll just sort of hold them up and stuff, and maybe I'll just reference. But these are finger paint rings, this crazy little bag of stuff right here. You put these on your finger, I kid you not, and then what you do is you take your paintbrush and you dip it into that while you're working on the part, like that. Rather than reaching over here and having the paint dry, you literally can, dip the paint like that, and then this is not a paintbrush, but you get the point. So these things are amazing, and they're so inexpensive that you don't clean them, you toss them out. It's like, $2 for a bag of 40 of them. So that's another thing that I've discovered that's very, very helpful. Other stuff along the way is this stuff here. This is called Bondic, B-O-N-D-I-C. And this basically is UV light activated glue. Here's the device right here, this thing. What you do with this is there's a little tube of glue inside of here. And believe it or not, you put the glue on, you sort of build up, and then you hit it with UV light, like that. And what this does, it instantly cures the glue, but it's actually plastic. So what you can do is fill gaps or even build up a wall, but just laying a line of this on, hitting it, build it up, hit it, build it, hit it up. And so it's pretty amazing, 21st century stuff that can be used in model building. And again, it's called Bondic, B-O-N-D-I-C. Yeah, this stuff right here, Bondic. It's like maybe $25, but it's better than using plastic filler by far, and it helps to really do things that you couldn't otherwise do with cement or putty. And beyond all that, speaking of putty, there's this stuff right here, Milliput. This is a British product. It's kind of a water-based thing, and with this and also this green power stuff, this is 2-part epoxy. You mix the 2 parts, but the good news is these things stay pliable and soft for about an hour. So if you want to make like a little mannequin or an engine block or a transmission, whatever, you could actually make the rough shape with this stuff and then begin to carve it and shape it before it kicks and hardens. You have an hour to work it. So Milliput's pretty cool stuff. It's very helpful for model building. And then beyond that, we have, if you like to weather, in many cases, building a model car, you get the details good. There's the underside of the car, but the reality of most cars is there's some grease, there's some grime. So weathering is an important thing. So this right here is the weather system. This is a series of dust powders that you just basically brush on, dust them on, and it self-adheres to the car. If you want, you can spray some dull or clear over it. to trap it in place forever. But this kind of stuff here is really good for weathering, and it brings the model to the next step in terms of realism. Another really cool thing are these. These are sanding needles, right? Now, historically, when you sand something, you're going to use a file, you know, like this kind of a deal right here. It's flat. It's good for flat surfaces, but these little sanding needles, they take things to a whole new dimension. They have a sharp point, and you can actually get into a crevice with this little sharp and that's gritty. That doesn't come off. This is integrated into the structure, so it never wears out. You can sand away into a little corner of a window or whatever it is. So these are pretty cool. Another couple of things that are, I think this is pretty cool. This thing right here. This is a sticky parts holder, right? You take the tip off, and this is like a sort of a nylon, some kind of a weird material that you can hold apart. Oh, hang on. There you go, like that. And it's like space age weird stuff, but it's really sticky, probably based on seaweed or octopus blood or who knows what. But this little device right here, if you don't have a third hand and can't use tweezers to hold that magneto as you put it into the engine, just grab it with this little puppy right here, and it'll stick, and you can mount it with your super glue. So this is a really cool thing right here. A couple other goodies too. If you're applying putty to a model car of any kind, whether it's Bondo or that Milliput, this is an application tool. The ends of it are really thin, they're spade-like, and here's one sort of like a little cup end. You can actually use this stuff to form and move the putty into cracks and crevices. Good stuff. So again, it looks like a dental tool. It looks painful, but it's not. It's actually for model building. And there's tons and tons of stuff. This little guy right here, this is a sanding board. This thing here you would use like that. But the thing is, these are adhesive, these little strips of sandpaper right here. So you can take them off when they wear out, put them on, and they're even different grits. So these are very helpful for, like, you know, block sanding a panel or whatever it might be, versus the old way of putting this stuff on your thumb and getting a wavy surface. So the same stuff that applies in real car world applies in models as well. And then final bit of stuff here, I guess, is the good old X-Acto blade, number 11 X-Acto blade. The beauty here is that these come in a variety of different shapes. For instance, this is the number 11, it's flat and straight. Well, a lot of guys don't realize they also make them with this sort of step, this taper right here, which allows you to get into a little tiny spot, you know, and chip away like that, where there's a little less surface area, but it has the same sharpness as the number 11. And finally, just so much, it's what to leave out. Oh yeah, one thing too is the old pin drill. This puppy right here. This is a drill that you can use to put holes in things. I used to take an X-Acto knife and just basically ream and create the hole till it was round and the right size. But if you really looked at it, it was sort of V'd, it was like a crater. This is an actual drill, but the beauty, it has this little tip on the end right there that rotates. So you put this in your palm and you just twist. Like that. Ow. But anyway, that's basically the beauty of this, and you can undo this as different size drill bits. So if you want to put lightning holes or Swiss cheese the frame of that 62 Pontiac Catalina model by AMT, you use this tool here to create the holes you need. And I could go on and on forever, but I will say one of the best things is a plastic organizer tray like this thing right here. I used to have, you know, piles of parts everywhere, but this allows you to basically have a little compartment for the body, one for the chassis, one for the engine, and, you know, from model to model, process to process, you can use this and empty it out, or in many cases buy a bunch of these things and have several model cars going at the same time. And this way everything you need is in one spot. You just pick it up, put it over there, grab the other one, start that model. So these organizing trays are really cool. These are about 11 bucks. They're made of plastic, and these are great. So these are just a small amount of the things that, you know, go beyond the usual paint, glue, kit, brush. There's also the world of airbrushing, which is another video from another time. And frankly, I'm not an airbrush guy. I use rattle cans because, well, they work. And this is Tamiya. I love this stuff. It's really good. It goes on really flat. It dries sharp and crisp. So I'm still a rattle can guy. But anyway, it's all about what to leave out.